Thanks, Richard. If I just ask you, I just one comment. I'm amazed at the ability of the Australian real estate industry to solve nuclear problems. People didn't want to live at Lucas Heights, so they named the adjacent suburb Barton Ridge, and the problem was solved. But anyway, that's just a mild joke from Sydney.
Hollow joke.
Hollow joke, yeah, pretty hollow. What I was going to ask you about all the nuclear submarines, and they're now quite significant in that submarines now considered to have to be nuclear, isn't it? And our submarines have been bought from the French in order that we can drop a nuclear engine into them later if we want to. That's my understanding of why we've paid such a large amount of money for this absurd technology. Is that the situation, and what will happen for small nuclear in the sense of these submarines, and are there other small power generations? They were suggesting them for Antarctica and so on as being, maintenance free, problem free. Is there small nuclear going on, and what's happening with it?
Small nuclear power plants were invented in the United States, and they've kept very close security checks on them, and it's very difficult to get nuclear technology for submarines out of the United States. I was at a reception given by the Japanese ambassador here in Sydney on the eve of the announcement of which country would get the tender for the submarines. And we had with us a Japanese Soryu class submarine, and its captain in full fig stood up in front of the audience at the Consulate General and said, last time we were in Australia for submarine was in 1942. And I think he didn't realise what a faux pas he'd made. But I must say, the next morning, and there was a great deal of excitement in the room because everyone thought Japan would get the bid. And the next day we see the headline in the Sydney Morning Herald saying France gets the bid as a Japanese Soryu class submarine disappeared through the heads with the Japanese rising sun. Look, I'm convinced that we did this, the government did this, because it wanted to get submarines that had the capacity to have put into them, dropped into them, the nuclear power plant. And the French made these, so they'll make them for us. We don't need them. The fact is that every country in the littoral in the Western Pacific has submarines. The Indonesians do, the Malaysians do, the Singaporeans do, Thailand's getting some. Vietnam has five Russian submarines, with 6, in fact, they've just upgraded. Meanwhile, the Koreans, the South Koreans, have a whole fleet of about 30. Japan has a huge fleet, and China does too. What the hell do we need submarines to go into the South China Sea? Is it just for the cojones of the naval force, or what? It's not credible. We don't need them. What we should be doing is spending more money on education and health, not so much on F-35 fighters and these submarines. We don't need them.
Okay, good. Now,
thanks.
Just stand up. It's easy if you stand up. Okay, thanks for aiming.
Richard, I used to go to your AIA. Okay.
Yes, I know.
I want to ask you, as we know that recently, or not very long ago, we started selling uranium to India. Why is it that the government wants to, given the fact that India and Pakistan are the most destabilizing countries in our region, and they hated each other, and the possibility of them starting a warfare is very big, and yet we continue to sell it to India. What rationale is that?
That's a good question.
Thank you very much. There is no rationale, quite bluntly. John Carlson, who used to be the safety officer in the Department of Foreign Affairs for Nuclear Matters, and someone I was quite antagonistic towards when I was writing my book, the book Fact or Fiction about Australian nuclear industry. John has turned, since retirement, into an anti-nuke, into a bit of a skeptic. And he said the other day, he came out very strongly and said, we shouldn't be selling uranium to India. We don't have the safeguards we need. It's not a transparent industry. They will be able to convert Australian uranium into weapons grade if they want. Or if not, they can use the stuff that they would normally use in nuclear reactors in nuclear weapons and use our stuff in their civil reactors. Look, it's opportunistic, it's mindless, and I think Dave made a very strong point that there's no logic to it, that we have a government and unfortunately an opposition who have a mindset that we should continue to export uranium, even though, as Dave said, it's such a low proportion of our mineral exports. In fact, I think it still is true that we make more money out of exporting industrial salt than we do uranium.
Very good. Okay.
Oh, thank you, gents, for tonight's discussion. Graham Bale is my name. Dave, I've got a query. The Lucas Heights unit, I know tonight's topic was talking about power, but the Lucas Heights, to my understanding, most of its activity is producing medical isotopes. But it still needs the chemistry or the fission and fusion, whatever you want to have, to do these things. Where do you stand? How is the waste stored at Lucas Heights? Given that Sydney has a shocking track record of getting rid of the waste that's been preparing over the years, with Botany ICI plant still full of chlorinated hydrocarbons. So somehow or other, if the medical side is worthwhile, life must go on.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. You're absolutely right. There's been a reactor since the 1960s at Lucas Heights. First of all, it was the HIFAR reactor. That's now closed and will be decommissioned. There is a new reactor now for a decade called Opal, and that's the reactor that operates there now. It is not a power reactor. It does generate medical isotopes, industrial isotopes, and it's used for a range of scientific materials testing, basically. It uses low enriched uranium, which ANSTO argues is a much better mix in relation to proliferation concerns, nuclear proliferation concerns. But it still, obviously, at the end of the day, generates spent nuclear fuel. Currently, the process for that is that it is sent to Europe, predominantly to France, to be reprocessed. An industrial process that separates it into component parts of recoverable plutonium, recoverable uranium, and a large, roughly about a 70% mix of a pretty ugly cocktail of radioactive waste elements. What happens then is that material is put into a matrix. In the French situation, they use borosilicate glass. That traps and isolates, fixes that waste, and also it serves a useful purpose, because waste is classified on a ratio according to volume to heat. So if you can spread out your matrix of either glass or concrete and change the volume to heat ratio, high level waste becomes intermediate long-lived waste. And although it still poses a very significant radiological threat, it doesn't push as many public concern buttons. High level waste is far more flashing red light than long-lived intermediate level waste. What happens, the plan is that that waste would come back to Australia and go to the national store. When the federal government realised that there would not be a national store, because communities all across Australia had been saying, no, we don't want this, they made a variation on the plan, and in the tail end of 2015, the first shipment of reprocessed spent fuel returns came back. It came in through Wollongong or Port Kembla, and it was then shipped up, transported by road to the Lucas Heights facility. ANSTO got a special budget allocation to build a new shed. which stores one of those dedicated, quite sci-fi looking elliptical transport flasks, the ones that they show on YouTube videos of train ploughing into. Now that is sitting in a shed at Lucas Heights now, and that's what's going on. What they ultimately hope to do is move that flask somewhere and put it somewhere in a little bit more off the radar in regional Australia. What we're arguing is that if it's safe enough to make it there and house it there now, it's safe enough to keep it there till we know what we're ultimately going to do with it. Because once it's out of Lucas Heights, it's off politicians' agenda, and that's what we can't afford to happen.
Okay.
If I could add to that, there's been a quite dishonest debate in Australia about molybdenum generators and generating cancer tracing and cancer curing elements from Lucas Heights that can go into medicines for analytical and diagnostic purposes. And the dishonest assertion was that if Lucas Heights didn't produce them from their Argentine-supplied Opal reactor, which placed the high-flux Australian reactor, then Australia's health would be at risk. Not true. It's been proven when Opal has been closed down that we can import as many molybdenum generators as we need, and there's no great delay in getting them through Sydney. So that's been blown out of the water. It's simply another dishonest fact, the factoid that adds to what Dave has been saying. And I tend to agree with David. We should keep all the high-level waste and intermediate-level waste in Australia. It's all bound to come back to us. And the French, Dave, I understand, have now refused to reprocess further Australian uranium. So where does it go? We don't know. It probably stays in an unprocessed stage at Lucas Heights.
Right, next.
One more.
Okay, one more. You're the...
My question is to either or both of you is on the decommissioning costs, and in the case of Chernobyl and Fukushima, some pretty heavy ongoing costs. I'd like to know whether you could advise me who picks up the cost of those. Are they insured, or does it come back to the old taxpayer fine?
Well, I think in the case of Chernobyl, unless Dave has some other thing to add, the Ukrainian government must bear the cost. It was originally a Russian idea when Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, but now Ukraine must. They built an enormous concrete sarcophagus under the whole of the Chernobyl power complex, but that's only going to last for 20-30 years and it'll begin to crack. And 40,000 year half-life for some of the transuranic elements in that reactor. It's an ongoing problem. Fukushima, 6 reactors in Fukushima Daiichi, owned by TEPCO, the Tokyo Electric Power Company. It gets subsidies from the government. No one really knows the cost that they're up to, but they haven't got anywhere because 3 reactors have melted down out of 6. The core from those reactors, which is about 100 tons in each case, has melted down through the concrete base into the substrata. That has to try to be cooled, and they keep pouring water into the top. The water cools it down to stop further reactions, but not reactions, it stops explosions. But the water then gets contaminated, and they have to do something with it. They've stored a lot of this water in barrels at the Fukushima Daiichi plant, but some of it leaches into the sea and radiation continues, and the whole area is a disaster area. That's why 100,000 people can't go back. That's why the Japanese people, like 80% of South Australians who don't want to have a nuclear fuel up there, are saying no, we don't want nuclear power. That's why I say it's on a downward curve, and Dave agrees with me. I'm going to thank you so much for having me as your guest. I admire very much your perseverance in keeping this thing going. I understand and sympathise with the fact that there has been a schism. There should never be schisms between progressive groups like this, but there has been, and you've got the mob up in the Irish Gaelic Club, and you've got the mob down here. I'll go, my price is very cheap, I'll go wherever they want me. But I'm glad to come in tonight. I'm very glad to meet my friend and comrade Dave Sweeney again, and he always makes good sense. I always catch up to date on goings on in Australia through David, and thank you, David. I must also adopt your salute to country. I don't do that mainly because I feel there's a degree of hypocrisy in saying this is Aboriginal land when we have no intention of giving it back to them. But I do understand it's a symbol of something that is paying respect to the Aboriginal Australians. Anyway, gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm sorry to leave you at this time, but I have another engagement. All the best to you, and thank you very much.
And we'll see you again. Thank you.
Good on you.
Now, do any of you want a break?
No?
No?
Let's just
Okay,
have-
so next person would like to ask a question.
I'd like to raise the topic of...
Just tell us who you are. I mean, I know who you are. Yeah.
Mark Marusich. I'd like to raise the topic of nuclear fusion as distinct from nuclear fission. I remember reading towards the end of last year, this was on the front page of the Sunday papers, about the big breakthrough in France in terms of efficiency and so on. But I haven't heard anything since. I was wondering if you could update us about any developments since.
Yeah, Mark, happy to. Look, nuclear fusion has been put forward for many decades as the sort of more effective, cleaner, safer version of nuclear power. So rather than dividing atoms, you're compressing and uniting them, and the heat given off is very significant, and people say that is generates far less waste and risk. It's much more of a theoretical construct than bricks and mortar. There's been vast amounts of money put into fusion research, and recently the two countries that were leading it, just in the last year, South Africa with its pebble bed modular reactor, and Japan with its highly expensive Monju fast breeder reactor, both have shut those programs. Australia has just signed very secretly, really, without much discussion at all, an international research program into what they term Generation 4 reactor concepts. So smaller modular reactors, fast breeder reactors, fusion reactors, a whole bunch of what they term novel nuclear technology. ANSTO is the Australian contact point for that research. There's a range of other people who have put submissions into the federal process and said, look, this is throwing good money after bad. The viewpoint of the organisation that I work with, the Australian Conservation Foundation, is actually that we have a fusion reactor commissioned and operating 93 million kilometres away, and the sun sustains the power that makes life on Earth possible. And so the issue isn't energy generation, it's energy collection, storage, transport, harvesting, efficient use. And that's more than just a glib little throwaway line. That's what we seriously maintain, because there has been massive amounts of money put into fusion research. There has been a negligible result. Now, in order to address a low carbon economy, we need things that deliver results. In a decade, we've seen renewables increase globally 100%. That's in our sense where the smart money is. Can I just pick up also one comment apart from the fusion stuff that was made earlier? A gentleman asked about the agreement with India. Why sell to India when there is that tension with Pakistan and so much else? There were so many reasons not to sell to India. And indeed, the Joint Standing Committee clearly recommended that sale not advance. One of the reasons that we put forward at the time, and we did a lot of work on that Indian sale deal, was that it was inconsistent. The sale deal was inconsistent with Australia's existing treaty obligations under the South Pacific Nuclear Weapons Free Zone Treaty, the Treaty of Rarotonga. Now in that, it says that non-provision of nuclear material, including uranium, to states that are not consistent with or signatories to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which India isn't. Now, the government We called repeatedly for the government to release its legal advice. It got Crown Solicitor's advice and on that tension. It refused to. And then on the last sitting day of last year in Federal Parliament, there was a swiftly moved India Safeguards Exclusion Exemption Act, 2 pages. And what it does is that it provides certainty and provides against any legal exposure from Australian or other corporations providing Australian uranium to India should it be found that that uranium, that act is in breach of other treaty obligations. So on the last day of Parliament, they've slammed the gate on us taking them, which is what we were going to do, injunct them. That's now not possible. It's one more example where perverse political process is being used without debate, without scrutiny, to avoid debate and scrutiny and to avoid any sort of rigorous testing. It's a profoundly anti-democratic way to do business, and it characterises the way this trade does its business.
Where are we?
I've got a question.
Just
I'll
so
give it to Charles first, okay?
And just so who you are, Charles, so we all know who you are.
Charlie Bradley. Look, I think we've got a little bit of time for a preamble. I'm a graduate in physics, and I did my physics training in the positive times.
Yep.
Into the bargain. My next door neighbour is one of Australia's, now retired, but he's one of Australia's foremost nuclear scientists. So I always kept it as an option, and I looked on it favourably, bearing in mind the sorts of strict oversight that you've described. In what's been said tonight, I've been pushed even further towards the need for great care in this field. I mean, what I've been doing the last 10 years is saying that, well, the nuclear industry needs to continue in the transition stage. So you've still got nuclear power stations, and will have for some years. But what you've said tonight has been very worrying in terms of what I might call the political economy of nuclear science. But I mean, the sorts of things that are being attributed to scientists, like global warming. I mean, scientists, it seems to me, are being ignored by what the politicians are doing. Could you sort of comment on the difficulties of that? I mean, how on earth did the ex-president of the ACTU get, in charge of energy, sort of, how was he allowed to get those things?
Good question.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's well, Charlie. First of all, that's extremely deep and good question, and I think, like if I can take one step back, my view is that the nuclear industry works. There's no question it works. You split atoms in a controlled way in a reactor facility. You generate high levels of heat. That turns steam into water into steam, turns a turbine, and you get electricity. The thing works, no question. But what it does is, if it goes well, you get a waste that lasts for thousands of years. If it goes poorly, you get a cataclysmic accident. So the two things So if that was the only way to generate electricity, maybe that's the trade-off you do, but it's not. So it then fails the cost-benefit thing. But even then, even say you were doing it, you would need the highest levels of rigour, the highest levels of scrutiny, and it would not need to be subservient to commercial interests. And those things fundamentally compromise. It's funny, I have franker conversations and find more commonality with some industry players, either in the mining sector or at Anstone, than I do with the industry minders, the industry promoters, the politicians in Canberra, everyone who is putting a spin or closing a conversation, as opposed to people who are in the trade, who kick the tyres and know, like they think maybe some of what I say is over-egging it, and they go, other bits, you don't know the half of it, it's far worse than you're saying. And there's a ring of truth in those conversations that does not happen in conversations with politicians, political masters, the bureaucrats that talk about the elaborate safeguards regimes and play games in Senate estimates. And how to break through that and build a more probing and a more genuine, culture for complex public policy questions isn't just a nuclear issue. It's not just. It's so wide. We hear it in the discussion about housing. People talk about housing affordability, but they don't talk about the elephants in the rented room of negative gearing and 15 other things. There's all this spin and fluff, and it's like that in the nuclear world. There's spin and fluff, and the tyres are spinning on real issues. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but there's one other thing I'd just like to say too about the real issues, because I think it's a really good observation that you made, that you cut your teeth in that field when it was the bright day. This is the clean energy future. This is the unlimited stuff that will alleviate poverty. This is the clean way to plug in and get things working. I can sort of get that. I certainly get it at the time. I can't get it now, like we know now. So I look and I see now Japan, third largest economy in the world, and there's 2 nuclear reactors running. That's it. The rest, 50 shut down overnight. I see Germany, the 5th largest industrial economy, and it's made a commitment, conscious commitment, to phase out nuclear power. And Angela Merkel, as the Chancellor of Germany, said that her 2 roles as Chancellor were to get Germany through the GFC and to exit Germany from the nuclear industry. Now that's not a Green, that's a CDU Chancellor. I see them as the 5th largest industrial nation exiting consciously. I see California as the 6th largest in itself economy in the world exiting nuclear. And that to me are signs that there's still this attempt to demonise renewables as a little bit boutique, a little bit inner urban meets hippie in the backyard, a little bit Byron Bay, a little bit for those who've already got it, can't really deliver. And yet what we're seeing is a long way from Byron Bay, turning off nuclear and embracing renewables. So that sort of point, and the point that Richard made about the cost curve changing, the market is now our friend on this, which is weird but true. And the other thing that I often say is that the Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stones. And the nuclear age won't end because we run out of the ability to split atoms. It'll end because we choose to move beyond it. We often use the term, we often use the term thinking of uranium as the asbestos of the 21st century. And in the same way as asbestos worked, as I started this, what's turning into a monologue, talking about how nuclear works, in the same way as asbestos works, its thermal properties work, its insulation properties work, all of that. But it worked at too high a cost, environmentally and human, and we found alternatives. And we embraced it, and we stopped it, and the roof didn't fall in. And that's what it'll be like with nuclear. We just need to keep pushing and get it there.
That's very good. Okay.
I got one for you. Okay, so it's Peter Murphy here. I'm still riveted by a report I read about 2 years ago about the Fukushima meltdowns. So it was rather quickly said tonight, 3 reactors are melted down at Fukushima. But I want if you could explain a little bit more, what does really the meltdown mean? Where is the reactor core of those 3 reactors now? And how long will it take for them to be found and stabilised? How long? And really, anyone got any idea what the cost will be of this?
That is a really powerful question, and I too find it deeply distressing that something that should have been the absolute canary in the coal mine just sort of gets shrugged off a little bit and not even examined here. What's happened at Fukushima is the tsunami knocked out the secondary cooling systems. You've got to keep nuclear material is dividing at a very rapid rate and generating a very large amount of heat. That's what gives it the ability to turn water into steam. Now that is generally controlled through some form of moderator, either graphite or water or something that can control that heat. And so there's a primary and a secondary cooling system at every nuclear plant. The earthquake took out the primary, and the tsunami took out the diesel generators that were the backup secondary. So then what you had effectively, imagine you've just got an old style kettle plugged in and just boiling dry, and that's what it was. And there was no more water to put in to cover the element. And effectively that's pretty much what it was. Then the element becomes exposed, and what happens in the old Burko kettle is it blows up or shorts. What happened here is it melted down, it melted through the bottom of the reactor vessel. So there is a molten core of super hot material somewhere down there. It's not quite the China syndrome, but it is not in a controlled way. There is a body of underground water which is moving through where that material is and then becoming quite highly irradiated. They tried to put a frozen wall, an ice wall, between it and the Pacific Ocean to stop that material getting straight into the Pacific. That failed. They used that technique in tunnelling and underground road construction. That failed, and there is many thousands of tonnes of material every week just pouring unconstrained into the Pacific. My understanding of it is that there has now been an acceptance by International Atomic Energy Agency and the Japanese nuclear regulator that it will take 40 years, 4 decades, from now, 4 decades of active management for to stabilise the Fukushima Daiichi plant. The cost figures that I've seen so far, Peter, were from the UN, that system-wide study, and that put damage and clean-up cost then. That was in 2012 at 250 billion US. Now, I think that's only going to go one way. And there are massive problems. There are massive problems because there is all this material that has been scraped, the top 5 centimetres of soil has been scraped, that's now been bagged, like there's hay, those plastic bags like you see in hay, in paddocks all around Fukushima Prefecture. There is waste stacking up, and then the material that was used to scrape needs to then stack up. It's an extraordinarily complicated and messy and expensive continuing operation. That is sort of the short answer.
I've got 3 questions.
Well, we're running a bit out of time, so...
Firstly, I went to Japan and everyone was trying to feed me seafood. There was lots of sushi and things, shellfish and stuff, and I wondered, has anybody actually measured the level that I was being asked to eat? And all this glut of stuff, was it just for tourists? I mean, I don't know whether the locals would have eaten any of it, but I gather a lot of lies were told. Were there any truths about what levels the public were being asked to eat? And was it very high? First question. Second question is it possible to decommission some of these nuclear plants at all? In the sense that if you build a plant with lots of bolts and stainless steel pipes and stuff, and then when you try to take the bolts off, the radiation dose is such that you can only do it for about 30 seconds. So you sprint to the bolt, put the spanner on it, don't have time to pull the spanner and you race away because that's your annual dose, and then you've got to get somebody else to run and pull the spanner, and so effectively you have a million people have to be trained to undo the bolt, or else you just say, oh, tough luck mate, it won't be you, you'll be right. Get yourself 10 lifetime doses in 5 minutes and keep working, which I suspect is what happened with decommissioning. I mean, is it actually possible in practice to decommission a relatively radioactive site? You can't get anyone in there to do it, presumably, on any reasonable exposure levels. And the third thing I was going to ask is thorium reactors, because I have heard it said that if we just switch to thorium, its waste levels, if we just simply got the wrong isotope, if we just got an isotope that didn't last so long afterwards, Bob would be your uncle, you could, use the stuff and you'd be fine. And all the mistake we made was using the wrong 235 instead of thorium. So could you answer? Sorry, 3 questions on that.
I'll take you reverse order, maybe, Arthur. And the thorium one comes up a lot. It is put forward as a bit of a silver bullet. It's not seen as such, and there's quite detailed critiques about thorium. It does generate a waste. The waste is not as long-lived, but it still is a significant waste. It is also possible to have to make a nuclear weapon from a sophisticated through to a dirty bomb from a thorium. People put it forward as a proliferation-proof product. It's not. And it still remains with many of the problems of uranium. And I could go and I'd maybe do it offline because we've got a detailed paper that critiques that. There's a really good paper on the Friends of the Earth Australia website on thorium, and a really good paper there about novel nuclear reactors technology. I'd push it in that direction. In relation to jumping now maybe to your first one, to Fukushima. Look, I've been to Japan since Fukushima also, and there are always those questions that people always ask, did you eat this, did you eat that? And it's always so complicated because you're banging in for a look around for 1 or 2 weeks, and people live there. So, I'm always very conscious about not being trying to make life harder for them, and I just tend to put whatever goes into my mouth, what's put in front of me. There is no question whatsoever that there would have been elevated levels of radiation in seafood, in meats and milks, in vegetables, particularly in broad green leaf vegetables. I know that many crops, rice crops and other crops that were still growing but not consumed. It's so hard to measure. When I was in Fukushima Prefecture, there were radiation scanners at supermarket outlets, at the vegetable outlets, which was very sobering to see a very standard looking supermarket and people going up and bipping the mushrooms and bipping the tomatoes and everything else. Very, very sobering. Very hard, I'm not a radio health physicist or that, very hard, as Richard said, some of the causality and impact stuff. But there is no question, you can't have a massive radiation release and not have it turn up. It would get into fuel, into food cycles. I can't really answer you the extent. You spoke about truths about exposure. There were exposure levels were raised. So the permissible exposure levels were raised, and particularly for school children, which caused a lot of concern because younger people, particularly in utero, and then younger people with faster growing dividing cells are more susceptible to radiation exposure than us crew, really, in this room. We're moving, including ourselves, a bit slower than a young kid. And to then change the permissible exposure levels for school kids is a matter of administrative convenience and assurance rather than public health. So there's all sorts of stuff. There were really deep concerns. One of the citizens groups that I met with and did a few days' work with there was doing monitoring. They were doing independent monitoring. And they had a really profound critique about where the official monitoring points were. And they were often in positions that were either much higher, raised off the ground. And so you would only get airborne, not material like people that I was with put a monitoring unit in the gutter at the foot of where there was a wall-mounted one, and after rain it just went off the scale, whereas the wall-mounted one just did a little minor bit. So the official data showed a very mild increase. The unofficial, but right there, data showed a very significant spike. Like, it is so hard to work through these things. Your final question is a really key one, and it's going to be the challenge for the industry. The challenge for the industry that we're going to have in Australia is not to let the miners cut and run and leave behind leaking uranium operations. That will be a big deal. The challenge for the industry internationally will be decommissioning. It will be massive cost. It poses massive technical challenge. When you take the fuel assemblies, when the fuel assemblies are removed from a nuclear reactor, a lot of the material outside of the reactor vessel, so you can strip a lot of the reactor, and it would be, with some variation, pretty much a standard pull-it-down job. You'd need to be careful, but it wouldn't be, it's not like the pictures of the liquidators at Chernobyl running on the roof and throwing stuff with a shovel. The fuel assemblies and the reactor vessel itself is a very different matter. No one's done it. There's now, there's big discussions internationally within the industry about what do you do. And there's a big discussion now about, do you actually decommission? Like you said, is it better to pull it apart? And there's some people now that are thinking that maybe what you do is you just entomb it. Yeah. You just entomb it. You fill it up with concrete, you take out the fuel assemblies, they've got to go and be treated as high-level waste. You fill the rest up with concrete, you maybe put another layer of concrete over the whole top, and then you put 10 metres of earth, plant some grass on top, and you've got yourself, instead of 6 reactor units, 6 hills that are a warning sign for the future. Maybe it's better to just entomb them. The discussions are extraordinary, and the discussions are like, again, it's that point, Charlie, that you made. Like, the discussions with politicians and spin doctors is, oh, well, we'll just decommission and there's sufficient provision made under the budget forward estimates, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like this rabble. The discussion with people on the ground is they can, you know, they quite often say, well, we don't know, we're shooting in the dark here. And it will be a massive and costly challenge, and it will be a continuing and forever burden. And you know, like, that's a hell of a price to pay for a hot shower and a cold beer, especially when there's alternatives.
Okay, good, thanks. All right. Well, we've come, I think, to the point where we first of all should thank very much, in absence, Richard, and also Dave. It's been, thank you so much for the questions have been excellent.
Great questions.
Fantastic
thank you.
question. And fantastic response. But before you leave, I'd like to just say a couple of things about how you can help us, you in the audience, can help us as the original Politics in the Pub going for 30 years with all the fantastic contacts we've got. That's why we can run just fantastic programs, because we've got 30 years of accumulated contacts of the quality that you've heard here tonight. And the most important thing you can do is to take this pink program, or take, so that you can write into your diary what our website is. Our only problem in not having a better audience is that the group that split away took our website, which we had developed over many years with them, and has not shared it with us. So that's a major problem. How do we let people know that we are continuing in the whole tradition of what we do? Terrific topics, great speakers, if we can't actually reach people through a website. So our new website, which we've constructed, is on this pink program. Please take the program if you haven't already got it. Please make a record of it. Please keep looking at that program, and you'll see the quality of our evenings. They are all leading people in the area they're speaking on. They come to us because they've known us for almost 30 years. They know that we have no other agenda except to inform people in the community who really want to know the truth of what's going on. So I do hope you can help us with that. I know, fair enough to the people who've gone to the Garlic Club, I know it's an advantage to people, it's an easy place to get to, but I think if you compare the two topics, I think you'll see that our experience over 30 years really makes a difference to the quality of the topic, and you're going to give up an evening, surely come to the best quality topic and the best quality speakers. And we'd love, and I think it's also encouraging for the speakers to see that they've got a fairly large audience that you can share your knowledge with. So it's all here on the Pink program, and it's been a marvellous night. But let's hope that more of our people can know about us through the website, and so we can all return perhaps to what was more normal about a year ago. Okay, thank you very much. Now, just to remind you what's on next week, it's a very important topic that I don't think many of us know is actually happening. We all know what's happened in Darwin with the juvenile detention policy. We all know that, don't we? Darwin, did you know that exactly the same policy is being carried out in juvenile detention institutions here in New South Wales by the current Liberal government? Did you know that? It's the same policy. And the person who is the expert, we've got two top experts. The topic is called "The Bad Government is Ignoring the Torture of Children," just as we saw in Darwin, the torture of children in juvenile detention. And we've got two really great speakers. We have David Shoebridge from the Greens, who is an expert on this issue. But we're thrilled to have a long-term presenter here. He went up to Brisbane. His name is Professor Chris Kineen, and he's the Professor of Criminology at the University of Sydney. And so you're going to get a very high level. You won't just sort of get, isn't this terrible, isn't this terrible? You're going to get a real analysis of why this is happening at this stage in our history, in this state, by a state government. So Professor Chris Kineen, David Shoebridge, who a lot of you know already, do come, but please let your friends know about the website. Even think of libraries where you can put it up, so that as many people can benefit from the quality of analysis and information that this new topic is going to continue in our 30-year history. But thank you very much. It's been a fantastic night. The questions have been marvellous, the discussions have been marvellous, couldn't hear a pin drop. And so thank you, Dave, and thank you all, and I hope to see all of you, but hopefully you can perhaps do a little bit to help let other people know that our quality for 30 years continues as usual. Okay, bye for now. See you.
Thank you. Very well.
Thanks.